Let's get started now. Public doctors have been returning to work after a 3-week strike which crippled healthcare delivery across the country. The Ghana Medical Association called off the strike last Friday in response to a directive from the National Labour Commission. Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Idrisu says the negotiations could start today. Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Yankson, says the strike has been suspended for now, but the group will be monitoring government's posturing. Well, today we have been on the ground monitoring the situation at the various hospitals, and Matilda Wemega has just returned from Kolibu. Matilda, what's the situation at Kolibu?
Well, Francisca, with my interaction with the patients who had reported at the facility today, and with what I saw, I realized that the doctors have resumed full operations. I was at the child health unit, I was at the maternity ward, where some weeks back there were some notice all around.
There was a notice
all around.
They are not taking any cases.
Any cases, no OPD, no emergency cases. They were only seeing to postnatal. Even antenatal, they were not seeing to those ones too. But today, when I went there, everything was the whole place has come alive again, I should say. Like last week, where the whole place looked quite dead. But I've also been speaking with some patients who had been booked weeks ago, and then they had to hold on because the doctors were not around. Some tell me they can't afford to go to private hospitals, so
they were waiting.
They were waiting for the doctors.
That's dangerous.
Yes, so it's a big relief for the patients that I met today, and I've also been speaking with Mustafa Salifu, who is the PRO of the Kolibu Teaching Hospital, who tells me that the 600 doctors which they operate with, at least a number of them have reported to work today.
Okay, let's now take a look at your report from Kolibu.
Sure.
Here at the Department of Surgery at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital, where a number of patients have reported to see the doctors. The place has come alive again as a result of the doctors' return from their 3-week strike. I'll be interacting with the patients to find out what they make of the doctors' return to work.
Well, I'm happy that the doctors are back because I was given 6 months, and after the 6 months I've not been able to come back. So you feel very bad since the pain's still there. See, so their coming back is quite okay. Yeah, I feel happy about that. But well, I'm in the queue. And I'm going to see a doctor. So by all means, I know I'll see.
So, Matilda, quickly give us a wrap of your interaction with the patients and also with the Kolibu. Did you manage to speak to some of the doctors?
No, I spoke with one of the doctors who told me, yes, you can see that we have resumed a full operation. So I'm not going to speak with the media. If you want anything, go to the GMA for me. I'm not speaking. But a number of them had turned up at the consulting rooms. The patients have queued to going to the consulting room to see the doctors. And I must say that this morning when we got there, initially we didn't see any of the doctors, so we were assuming the doctors had not reported, but we realized they were in a meeting. Told them every morning when they report to work, they have to go for their reviews and then go to the wards to check on the inpatients for any other thing before you see them in the consulting rooms. So later they all came in, and then we realized that everything was going on as expected today.
So that's the situation in Kolibu. But our sister station, Joy FM, has been speaking to the Deputy General Secretary of the GMA, Dr. Justice Yankson.
A lot of them are going back with reservations. They are going back with a heavy heart. And what people should understand is that when people who everybody wants them to slave for this country are not happy, sometimes outputs might not be the best. That is a fact people may want to shy away from, but in truth, that is a fact. But generally, we as leadership, we've encouraged everybody to go back and give up their best in these difficult times. But we also need to acknowledge that we cannot be everywhere to police every single member, because some of them are so outraged about the way they have been treated, especially the last couple of weeks. Considered, and if you realize, at our last General Assembly meeting, which is just about a week plus, about 10 days back, one of the motions that was rejected was that some emergency services be restored. But the members of the association who were going to go back to do the same work without any proper conditions of service rejected it. So the truth is that various scenarios or options were considered, but membership spoke, and we as a group had to abide by what the general body had decided. So, well, could you let me say that this particular action that we are all talking about as of today, it is just a suspension. It has not been called off totally. It's just a suspension to give the well-meaning Ghanaians, the prominent people who came to us to plead and all kinds of, good counsel and what have you were given by them, in addition to the pleas. Plus the fact that the honorary man had also, asked for some, in quote, truth. We are at this point very much aware of the possibility of the employer going back to do the very thing that the employer has done the last 5, 10, 15, almost 20 years. So until we have that document signed, to tell you the truth, it is not over.
So this is a ceasefire, not a peace treaty?
Yes, that is it. But the real test will begin starting from today. That is when we will know their true posture, if indeed they will walk the talk.
You're still here on News Today on Joy News on Multi TV. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more stories. Welcome back to News Today. Now, we understand the doctors or the GMA have begun negotiations with government. Fred Smith is at the Labour Ministry and joins us. Fred, what's the latest?
Well, the meeting just got underway. Earlier, there was a mini meeting between the government negotiators. The government team will be headed by KCL Ato Forsen, who is a Deputy Minister of Finance, and we have the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission boss, George Smith Graham, as well as others who are participating in this. The Employment and Labour Relations Minister met with them before, but I spoke to Dr. Justice Youngson, who is Deputy General Secretary of the GMA, before he entered the conference room for these negotiations to begin, and he's saying that they're expecting the government to reach some kind of agreement with them within days. What that meant, he didn't put any specific timeline on it, but he said within days. But shortly afterwards, we met with the Employment Minister, who also told me that he's urging the GMA or the doctors to consider constraints on the economy before making demands. And so the meeting has just begun, and details will be coming out a bit later today.
Fred, kindly give us an understanding of the attitude the doctors are taking into this meeting. They have said that the negotiations for these conditions of service began many years ago. Are they confident that with the strike off and government now, entering discussions with them, are they confident that they will get what they want?
Well, that's what they believe, but they also understand that there are constraints, just like the minister said. There are constraints on the budget, and so they are ready to make some concessions so that they can make progress with this. Remember, Dr. Justice Youngson has already said that they are expecting some agreement within days, and you must soften your stand a bit before you be able to reach there. The Minister for Minister for Employment and Labour Relations himself has said that they are building bridges, and so they will also try to soften their stance so that they will be able to reach some consensus.
Let's talk about government stance. We know that in the past they were accused of engaging in bad faith, where the proposals by the doctors were leaked. Do we have any idea what's going forward, what the government is going to do or not going to do? Can they guarantee that they're going to act in good faith for the doctors?
Well, Francisca, the ground rules have, for this negotiation has not been set yet, but reading from the NLC ruling last week, you understand that the two parties have been told not to leak any part of their negotiation to the media or to any other person until they are concluded. And so, in any time any of the parties speak to you, you realize that they're guarding against leaking any sensitive information that might destabilize the negotiation.
Fred, you've spent a lot of time monitoring the strike and thereafter. Can patients or can ordinary Ghanaians who are at home rest assured that this meeting or the negotiations which have begun today are going to yield positive results and that we are not going to see the doctors go back on strike?
Well, Francisca, it's early days yet. Let's hear what happens on the first day of the negotiations. Then it will give us direction as to how the negotiations will end in the next few days.
Okay, that's Fred Smith. He's monitoring that meeting, negotiation meeting between the Ghana Medical Association and government. Now, the Livestock Breeders and Traders Association, Techiman branch, have accused the police in the area of collapsing their businesses by monitoring by mounting too many checkpoints in the area. The secretary of the association, Daniel Akologo, claims that police use these checkpoints to extort money from livestock breeders. He was speaking at a public forum at Techiman.
The forum, which was organized by the Ghana Shippers Authority in collaboration with the Ghana Ports and Harvest Authority and the United States Agency for International Development and Borderless Alliance, is to raise awareness on the bottlenecks in the corridor and help eliminate them. It also aims to update and sensitize the players in the trade and transport industries on the current development on Ghana's northbound transit corridor. Daniel Akologo emphasized that the alleged money extortion by some policemen at the various checkpoints along the Pagatema Road contributes to the high cost of meat in the country.
Checkpoint, we are prepared to give out some amount of money, roughly 30 Ghana cedis, 40 Ghana cedis. Sometimes when you negotiate up there, you need a very good person. You wouldn't actually go and you just get 10 cedis and then you are gone. But when you meet somebody who is quite difficult, then you are compelled to pay 40 Ghana cedis or 50 Ghana cedis before you be allowed to go. And because of the livestock, when we delay, there is heat in the car that will generate. At the end of the day, we have a lot of casualties. So because of that, we compare to, pay whatever amount that is asked of us, we just give out, and then so we'll be able to have a way out. And sometimes we have a lot of losses.
The Research and Development Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Abdul Haki Bashiruddin, said transit volumes through the ports of Ghana has since 2009 reduced by 40% from more than 850,000 tons in 2006 to 520,000 tons in 2014. This is due to many checkpoints mounted by the police and customs on transit corridors to neighboring countries. The checkpoints, he stressed, are part of the major challenges facing trade facilitation and which robs the country of its economic resources. He, however, explains the bribe givers are partly to blame. A report by Nesta Kafui Ajuma.
Calm is returning to Boku following some disturbances which led to a number of properties being vandalized, including the armory of the District Police Command. The Boku police is on a manhunt for some youth leaders suspected to be behind disturbances. 3 persons sustained injuries when the police clashed with the angry youth. The clash is said to have been caused by misunderstandings between some clerics and the police. District Chief Executive for Boku, Isa Kabukari, earlier spoke to us.
That are being managed by some malams in some communities, where they have children coming from Burkina, Sankansi, Togo, and other places. So it's common that they have this big Tintamanto
Isaka Bukari joins us on the phone right now. Earlier, there were reports that the police were searching for these youth leaders. What's the latest on that so far?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. As I told you in the morning, we, I guess, left out the meeting to respond to your call. We had a MUSEC meeting this morning, and we have underlined some strategies that we need to go on, and that will not be communicated on air. But as of now, we are in the stakeholder meeting with the Malam, and I think we are just concluding. And the issue is clear that there was some misunderstanding that actually led to that. So the agreement is that the Malams have agreed when they get back to their various communities, they would sensitize the youth and let the youth understand that there's law and order. And if anything at all happens, they don't have to take the law into their hands. And we also made them to know that there's a need for them to have a cordial relationship with the police. Say that if there's an issue, they should be able to talk to the police to get that issue resolved, instead of coming into groups to say they are coming to attack the police station and whatever.
So what can you tell us about these persons believed to be behind the incident?
Right now, the police is still investigating. They are not able to, you know, the way it happened. Yesterday was a Sunday, as I said. The way it happened, the number of police that were there was very minimal. It was about, the number was normal. And the number that came, it was difficult for the police to be able to identify them at that spot. So now they have their own intelligence and other things underground, trying to find out those who were involved in the issue.
Very well, sir. Kindly give us an idea of what happened to those who were injured. We understand there were 3 of them.
Yeah, there were 3. One was discharged yesterday. The other 2 were at the hospital. From after this meeting, we'll be moving there to visit them. And yesterday, I went there with the military commander, and it was confirmed that there were no gunshots. I'm sure you know there was a lot of stone throwing up and down, and maybe as a result of that, some of them got injured. But they are in good condition.
Very well, sir. You're declining to give us details of the outcome of the meeting, the earlier meeting, the dissect meeting you talked about. But there's another meeting you're talking about.
The dissect meeting, what I said is that it's as a result of that meeting we are having the stakeholder meeting. We're meeting to find out why did this thing happen. If you invited the man and there was an agreement that the next day he comes back for further discussing on the issue. Why?
Very well. Very well.
So to get the report from the police divisional commander how the whole thing happened. We got that report, and it's as a result of that happened. So now we are now engaging the people to find out why it happened, if there was an avenue for an engagement.
So when all these meetings have been concluded, what assurances can you give residents about their safety?
No, but since yesterday, there is nothing. After that particular incident, Boku is very peaceful. There is nothing going on. There is no tension and nothing is happening.
And a recurrence can be forestalled?
Nothing of that sort should happen, because it's about the community, it's about the Malam, and the Malam is committed to going back and telling his people it's A, B, C, D. That was a misunderstanding, and that was why it happened that way. And the Malam himself said he didn't organize the people because they say he should come back. He was going, and I'm sure some other people organized people, and they were with him.
Okay, we'll leave it here. Isaka Bukari is the DCE for Boku. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, the Bureau of National Investigation is probing the cause of the accident that led to the death of the presidential correspondent of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Samuel Nyama. Meanwhile, colleagues, friends and well-wishers of the late Samuel Nyama have been signing his book of condolence. Joy News' Gifty Andrew Pierre has been interacting with those who were injured in the accident and joins us on the telephone with more. Gifty, what more can you tell us about their conditions, these journalists who were injured?
Well, Francisca, what I can say is that they're getting well. They're healing really quickly, and that makes us happy. One of them who we know who have been in a critical condition, and I'm talking about the correspondent of PCSM, William Bintu, is also recovering really quickly. He was actually in coma. From the narrations that I'm getting from those who were there on that day, his hand has been damaged, but as I saw him yesterday, it appears to it was bandaged heavily. Seems that it's getting better. I'm just concerned about the pain he'll be going through and all of that. But The others are doing well. They are really, they look okay. They look okay. Except for instance, the guy from TV3 has a fracture in his leg, so it has to heal. The guy from GTV has stitches on his face. He has a swollen face as well, and he has to heal. And the other guy from Empire has a swollen. He had a swollen lip. He actually had sores on his lip, so he also has to heal. The ladies, Pascaline has been complaining of bodily pain. I think from her stomach down through the abdomen to the thighs. And the ladies from TV has come out yesterday. I saw she was able to walk to the washroom herself. So it looks like they're improving. They're improving with the day.
So, Gifty, that's an idea of their physical conditions. From your interaction, what can you tell us about their mental state after the accident?
They are worried. They are shocked. They still seem to be in shock. Apart from Eddie, who has been laughing really hard, and the GTV correspondent, who has also been, quite enthusiastic and talking all over. They are all like, kind of in a reflective mood, if you ask me. And they've been talking about how they think this could have been avoided, how they think that this accident and this whole thing could have been avoided. And actually saw one of them asking the driver. We had gone there with one of our drivers. The driver is known to me. And one of them was asking him, would you apply the brake if you had a bus tire? And then we all had to say that, well, let's talk about this later. Because one of the things that the doctors say is not good also is to be discussing what happened. Okay, so as much as possible, we try not to discuss what happened, just to find out how they are. But they all look like they're all in shock. Even those who went to help them out seem to be. That's one of them who told me this morning. I saw him this morning. He told me that he's been shaking since, and he's still been shaking. He's actually having an asthma attack, and it's because he keeps thinking about it. And so I believe that they're going to be getting some kind of attention to take care of the shock that most of them seem to still be in.
Gifty, you're as well a presidential correspondent for us, and these are people that you've been working with, you've been traveling with. Have you managed to sign the condolence book yourself?
Yes, I have.
And,
I have. And for me, it was, it feels like a dream, It feels like one of the bad dreams you have, and you wake up and you hear a sigh of relief and say, it was just a dream. But it's real. Just going to his workplace and sitting in his office and looking at his pictures all over the place, writing. I did write something about the fact that I'm going to miss him dearly, and I hope I've been praying that this was a dream. It's real, Francisca, and it's really painful.
Okay, indeed, that's a presidential reporter, Gifty Andrew Appiah. We all will miss Samuel Nyama. This is News Today with me, Francisca Kakrafos. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you business. Welcome to the business segment on News Today. Some special initiatives are being pursued to ensure that government's revenue targets for the rest of the year are met. That's the assurance from Senior Tax Policy Advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian. The Ghana Revenue Authority exceeded its targets for the first half of the year by almost 2%.
You see, Customs has a GCNet software, and then they are also developing an interface with Internal Revenue and VAT, TRIPS, so that information from customs imports will be fed into Internal Revenue, which means they can simulate your accounts. Suppose you bring in 100,000 barrels of pig's feet. Everybody knows how much you sell the pig's feet, so you can simulate what will be sold for. Then you can say you have a number of employees. These are your overheads. So you come up with an assumed profit level, so that when the people are returning their accounts, submitting their returns, and maybe from your office you are saying they've made 20 million profit, and they declare 5, you say there's something wrong. Then this period also, there have been a lot of audits. We have gone back to audit accounts of taxpayers. And one of the best examples is that some people may for a long time, they may have had exemption, but they are still taking advantage, especially for not paying taxes. They may have depreciation, that is capital allowances, for 4 years, but because we're not meticulous, they could go on for 5 years. Now we are rechecking. So if you look at the details, direct taxes, that is profit from companies, are increasing.
The World Food Programme has paid out 1 million Ghana cedis to residents in the Sisala East District in the Upper West region who worked on dams and dugouts constructed in their communities in the last 12 months. The amount will be split among more than 2,000 residents in 4 communities under the Asset Creation Project of the WFP.
It's payday for these residents of Nabugubele, Tafiasi, Kansampuri and Jijen, who helped construct the 4 dams and dugouts in their communities. For the 1-year period that these projects were built, these residents agreed not to be paid any monies until after the projects were completed. Country Director of the World Food Programme, Muntinta Chumuka, explained the initiative offers more than one benefit to the beneficiary communities.
We're here at this community in Sisala East to actually give out some compensation to beneficiaries who've been working on Asset Creation Program. The Asset Creation Program has been on rehabilitation of dams and dugouts. This is something that the World Food Program has been doing in Ghana as a means of ensuring people's livelihoods are improved. We're actually distributing cash to beneficiaries. In this community, a total of over 1 million Ghana cedis will be distributed. So that means about an average of 400 to 600 cedis per person, depending on how much they have worked over the period.
And the residents are appreciative of the gesture.
To use this money to help my children in school, health insurance, and so many things. To buy some dresses for my children and books. Like this season, this third time they will return to school, and I'll also help them for their new uniforms and their books.
Another resident says such initiatives also help address the problem of the youth leaving their communities in search of non-existent jobs.
This water is available. You can use it to make gardens. And as we make gardens, that will serve as employment. And as we work and we get money, I don't think there's a need moving to dance up. That will sustain us back at our villages.
The World Food Programme's Asset Creation Program is being implemented in 2 other regions, namely the Brong-Ahafo and the northern regions. Rafiq Salam's report from Jijen in the Sisala East District.
Stock markets in London, Paris and Frankfurt have fallen sharply as fears of a Chinese economic slowdown continue to haunt investors. London's FTSE 100 index was down by 4% in early afternoon trade, with major markets in France and Germany down by 4.6% and 4.4% respectively. Shares in Asia were hit overnight, with the Shanghai Composite in China closing down 8.5%, its worst close since 2007. Global investors worry about the growth in the world's second largest economy. This is News Today. That's it for the business segment. Welcome back to News Today. A court has been hearing the case of the man who was sentenced to 10 years for illegal gun possession after he was arrested with a weapon in a church. A psychiatrist had before the sentence diagnosed 36-year-old Charles Entry of a mental health condition. Latif Idris, who has returned from court. Latif, tell us what happened in court.
Yeah, today, like Friday, was very heated. And we had a packed court today, you know, with such a high-profile case. You expect people to be interested.
And this is high profile because of the president's involvement.
Exactly.
The man claimed to have wanted to assassinate the president.
Yeah, so that has given it the high profile. Now, today, the AG, represented by Richard Jambili and then Evelyn Kilson, made a strong case. You remember last week, Friday, the AG's position was that what they are in courts, what they are fighting for is the same as what Francis Sosu is fighting for Charles Entry. But today, the position changed a little bit. Today, what the AG is saying is that, no, if we should go ahead and then grant Charles Entry, or we should get Charles Entry free, let him go. That is what Soshorora seeks to, achieve with Francis Sosu.
Francis Sosu wants the court to let him go.
Yeah,
to
so
quash
that
sentence.
To quash it and then send this guy into a Satrak hospital for him to be given some treatment. Today, AG says, no, if you do that, BNI operatives still have the opportunity to rearrest him and start the trial all over again.
Did they explain why?
And it is true, because today there were BNI officials at the court, because all along they've also had this belief that today the court will pass out a judgment and that Charles Entry was going to walk a free man. So they were there, ready to rearrest him if the court should go ahead and then grant him the bail.
The AG doesn't want Charles Entry to walk away free man. What do they want?
Yeah, they still want him to be in prison. And then because they are also in the court seeking to call for appeal of this whole process. So they want him to still be in court while they still fight for this appeal. Now, they say what they are fighting for is the same as what Francis Xavier Sosu is fighting for.
They want a retrial, but Francis Sosu wants him to be freed.
To be freed, so that he is confined into a psychiatric home where they believe that that's where he belongs and not a prison cell. So I spoke with Francis Xavier Sosu on the point made by the AG that they are both in the same thing. He thinks that the AG is confusing the issues. We can take a listen to what he had to say.
The AG is perhaps confusing the issues. But when you look at the issues clearly, I think there is no doubt that even taking the plea was wrongful because he was of unsound mind. And remember that, you see, under the Constitution, and when we talk about human right, Article 33, and you look at the rules of fair trial under Article 19 of the Constitution, you will realize that all the things that we were complaining about were supposed to be in place before the plea is even taken. Medical examination and medical evaluation because of the way the person was talking, and so on and so forth. So for all these things not to have been done, there is no way the conviction could be right, and there is no way the sentencing could be right.
So that's Francis Xavier Sosu, a human rights lawyer. He's trying to get Charles Entry to be set free. But we know that the final ruling was not given today.
Yeah, the judge listened to both sides. They all came up with various submissions. He listened quietly, and after that he said, okay, let's come back on Monday, by which time I'll be convinced as to which direction to go, whether to slash down the sentencing from 10 to 5 years or to let Charles Entry walk a free man. That is yet to be determined on Monday.
Okay, thank you very much, Lateef Idris.